Hello, friend. You're watching Call Sign Trouble. I'm Byron Bullets. Today I want to talk about my military service. Of all of my life's accomplishments, my military service ranks at the top of the list of the most important things I've ever done with my life. The Air Force is where I picked up the call sign Trouble and the nickname Bullets. So let's get into it. I joined the military in 1997. I didn't go directly after high school because at the time I was managing a photography studio, and to be honest, military service just wasn't in the cards for me. I wanted my life to be in the arts, and I lucked out with this job at a photography studio, and it was a good fit for me. Kept me in the scene, and it was just a good job for a young artist. I would end up becoming a father shortly after that, and photography wasn't making the ends meet. I had a baby to provide for, and I didn't have any better means to take care of my little one, so I looked into military service. Both of my grandfathers were decorated Navy sailors, and I'm sure they would have loved that I followed in their footsteps, but to be honest with you, I couldn't see myself being stuck on a vessel in the middle of the ocean. I just couldn't do it. And I would later learn that not everybody in the Navy is on a boat. The Navy is in the air, the Navy is on land. But at the time, I just didn't want that for my life, and I couldn't see myself in the Army or the Marines. And ever since I was a little child, I have had a fascination with aircraft. So I knew that if I ever was to join the military, that I was going to join the Air Force. So when I finally worked up the nerve to see a recruiter, I ended up at the Air Force recruitment office. I remember being so nervous to go that the only way I could calm my nerves was to puff on a little electric lettuce, work up the nerve to go, and I did, and I might have smoked a little too much, but it was the only way I can work up the nerve to go. So I went and I met the master sergeant there, and he filled out some paperwork, asked me a bunch of questions pertaining to my any arrest history. No. Do you have any debts? No. Any drug use? No. He's like, for real? I was like, no. He's like, you never smoked any weed? And I was like, no. And he's like, come on. You never experimented a little bit? And I just laughed. And I was like, yeah, I've tried it. Like, I'm on it right now. And he just kind of sat back and he's like, I'm going to ask you one more time. Have you ever smoked any weed? And I got the hint. And so I said, no, never. I never touched the stuff. And he said, good. So that's what we're going to put in. Now I need you to go home and come back in 30 days. And you're going to need to submit a clean urinalysis. And so I went home. So during these 30 days, I'm out jogging, push-ups, sit-ups, crunches. I'm trying to get fit, get my body used to these calisthenics, and I'm sure that basic military trainings can be really physical on me. So I'm just doing that, and plus thinking that I could sweat this stuff out of my system. But 30 days pass. I show it back up to the recruiter, and I submit a urinalysis. It's clean, and we proceed with the process. Also, during these 30 days of cleaning up my act, I had to take the ASVAB test, and the ASVAB is Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, a standard test used by the military to determine enlistment eligibility and aptitude for various military jobs. The test is comprised of different sections: word knowledge, paragraph comprehension, arithmetics, mathematical reasoning. There's a section for coding and memory tests and a bunch of stuff. They want to see where you're good, what you're good at, and then based on your score, they're gonna open up jobs to you based on your strengths. That's the best I can really explain. So I score an 89, and I'm like, hey, solid B. That's good enough for me. And I would learn that that's not really how it's graded. 89 is like percentile, and the national average is here, probably I think in the 70s. But I was quite a bit above that, humble brag. And so the kind of jobs that opened up for me were in aerospace maintenance, or what was it? Missile maintenance. Yeah. And I chose aerospace maintenance. I was going to be an aircraft mechanic. I would end up signing a 6-year contract with a $2,000 signing bonus to job code 2 Alpha 5X1, aerospace maintenance apprentice. And shortly after that, I would move on to military entry. My recruitment facility was in Carson, California, little city outside of Long Beach. Basically, it's Long Beach. I won't bore you with details. Military entry was in downtown Los Angeles. We call it the Hollywood MEPS. And MEPS, or military entry processing, is the place where we get our physical evaluation, mental evaluation, to see if we're fit for military service. In the movies, this is the place where you see people in their underwear doing the duck walk, getting a checkup, eyes, ears, nose, throat, drop your trousers, look at your O-ring, squeeze your bag and cough, that kind of stuff, People that are not fit for military service, they get coded out and sent back home, and the rest of us are shipped out to our respective basic military training facilities. I would end up at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. We flew from LAX to San Antonio, and we landed later in the night, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. And it was kind of confusing because we didn't have anyone to direct us. We got off of a commercial flight and we had to find our way to the military bus terminal. And it was just signage. There was nobody there pointing the way or telling us what to do. We just had to figure it out for ourselves. So we're gaggling to find this place. And we find the bus stop, and we're just kind of standing around. Everyone is nervous. I just remember just having this, my stomach was turning flips. Like, I was so nervous. I watched too many movies, and it's really quiet. I expected more yelling, but finally a bus pulls up, and we grab our bags and we start heading on the bus, and somebody comes out and he is immediately on us. Did I tell you get on the bus? No, sir. Stand at attention. Boom, he locked us up. And the psychological breakdown began right there at the airport. We haven't even stepped 1 foot on a military installation, and we're getting smoked already. So he gets us on the bus, seated in a certain manner. I guess they had folders for us and stuff. And who am I to argue? It was a really awkward, long, quiet bus ride to the military installation. And I just remember it was like foggy, and I couldn't see very far out. All you could see was the haze of all of the lights. And that was it. Just these glowing orbs all over the place, and they were just passing you by. And you want to talk, but only out of nervousness. You want to know what's going on, but they told you to shut up, and you listen. Finally we show up. Get off the bus. So we get off the bus, find our bag, get on the pad. What's a pad? Find the dot, the painted dot. Stand on the dot, stand at attention, and don't say a word. And let me remind you that it's foggy. You can't see 5 feet in front of your face. And we're supposed to find these marked placement spots on the ground, and we found them. But we didn't know if we needed to stand, in a row. It was just a bunch of us kind of randomly standing on these dots, and we were standing there quietly, and we were there for felt like an hour. I swear, it felt like an hour. So we're standing there quietly for forever, and I'm looking around, and I see headlights coming towards us, but you can't see where they park. You can't see who it is or how many. But you hear the door slam, and then you can just hear clack, 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 boots coming at you. You don't know where they're coming from. You don't know if they're coming from behind you, in front of you, from the side. You're just you're at peak anxiety. Who is this? And like a shark in dark water, boom, somebody just shows up in your face. Rah, 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 rah. Oh my God. I didn't even understand a word he said. Just screaming at me with his smoky hat, just poking me in the forehead. Yeah, I really don't remember what he said. I just, my mind was reeling, and psychologically I was just going to my happy place. But essentially he was just getting us into a heightened state of anxiety. But he wanted us to listen to command at that level of stress. Basically, he just wanted us to organize, get our bags, and he wanted us to dump all of the contents of our bag onto the ground at 11 o'clock at night in the dark. And we were supposed to get rid of all the things that were considered contraband, and we were allowed to have certain things, and we had to throw certain things away. And once it has been determined that we have authorized things, we can stuff our bags back, and then we go into the training facility for our bed assignments. God, I couldn't wait. It's getting late. I'm dog tired. I just want to go to sleep and get this day over with. So we make our way up the steps into our dorm, our barrack, and I grab the first bed in the first row. I just wanted to lay down. So I throw my bag in the locker, and then I lay down, and it's late, so we can just go to bed. Nothing formal, just told us to shut the F up. Can do, sir. And normally I don't think I could sleep under that amount of stress, but for some reason, man, I knocked out. And just as soon as I fell asleep, bam, 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 bam. Wake the F up. Get up. Back at it. Putting us a heightened stress. Get up. Get up. Stand at attention. We're all just standing disheveled at the end of our bed. You know what? These guys in their training hats, they're just walking up and down the aisle, just screaming at us like we don't know what's going on. Rah, 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 rah. Like we're all still half asleep, and then you got these guys like hollering commands at you. Like, oh man, what did I get myself into? This was so bad. So we organize, and we have to make our bed and get downstairs for breakfast. And we're still in civilian clothes. And we go down and we eat, and then after we eat breakfast, we have to go to this this classroom environment. Basically, they're telling us, which training facility we're in, the training squadron number, what flight we are, what flight number, like what group number we are. They're called flights. I ended up in the 331st training squadron in flight 105. So that don't mean anything to you. That's just what happened, So each training squadron had a different moniker or a call sign, a nickname, these cool names like the Bulldogs, the Knights. There was one called the House of Pain, and I think they changed it, and we used to call them the House of Pancakes. They were our neighbors. 331st used to be called Death Row. And I don't know, rumor has it that they pushed the trainees so hard, a couple of them died. There's always some kind of a crazy lore to make us scared, but I remember them telling us that we needed to change our name, so we landed on Wolfpack. So 331st Training Squadron, Lackland Air Force Base, is now called the Wolfpack, and we were the first training squadron, I believe. I could be wrong, but I do remember taking the vote. So anyway, yeah, it was fun. Air Force love call signs and nicknames and stuff, and also, that's, like I said, where I get call sign Trouble and Bullets. We'll get to it. So the first couple days of basic military training are familiarizing ourselves with the installation, the training process, the actual entry process, filling out our contracts, life insurance, and like any job applicant would fill out paperwork, right? We're doing the same thing in the military. They want to know if you want to accept the GI Bill, and you gotta agree to that. You don't have to take get the GI Bill, but the GI Bill, for the first year of service, they take a certain amount of your money out of your paycheck and put it toward the GI Bill. And in return, after that year, you are qualified for the GI Bill. And I think for me, when I actually used my GI Bill for college, I got $36,000 of money out of the GI Bill. And on top of that, there was a top-up program that helped me tap into a little bit of it while I was in, so that I can get my associates in applied science. Anyway, we'll talk about that too. Now, on the day that we got our military issue, uniforms and stuff is the day we got our haircut. Buzz. Just like the movies, they cut all of our hair off. We're all bald so that we're all equally worthless, right? But I think it also has a lot to do with this huge training facility. This is how you know like what phase of training that you're in based on how much hair you have on your head. All the baldies with white scalps are like phase 1, day 1s, man. We're the lowest of the low. And you can tell because we're the scaredest. And then you see guys with like high and tight. These guys are about ready to graduate. So the instructors are a little easier on those guys. But, with the bald heads, we're getting smoked like every second. It's crazy. Crazy how much yelling goes on in the training process. But there is a reason for it. We'll get into it later. So I'm walking around with a freshly buzzed head. I got a duffel bag full of uniforms and stuff. And we're humping down to the clinic where we're like in this cattle call. We're just standing in line with our, like a huge duffel bag full of clothes, heavy. And we're in a line, one by one, and they're just sticking us in the arm, like with vaccinations and blah blah blah. And these nurses, they got to do thousands of them, I'm sure. So they're just like bored out of their mind. And by the time I get to my shots, the nurses, I remember, were talking to each other. They weren't even looking like at me. They were looking at each other. Blah 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 blah. And I'm thinking to myself, are you gonna pay attention? You're just about to jab me in the arm with a hypodermic needle. And she got me, and I was like, ooh, and I tensed up. And then she pulled away, and I walked to the next lady, and just as she was gonna stick me, she screamed. She wasn't paying attention. She was talking to the lady next to her. Well, I had squirted blood all over her because when I tensed up, I broke the needle off of the syringe. And when I moved over, I had skated my life's blood all over her face. And that was her bad for not paying attention. But I also got yelled at for that. Wasn't my fault, but they love to make an example out of people. So yeah, that was my first nightmare in basic training. But I don't know what was more traumatic, them cutting my beautiful hair off or trying to kill me with these hypodermic needles. And I remember the day this happened because after all of that, we went to Chow and we got turkey and mashed potatoes and stuff. It was Thanksgiving. And that's how I remember that day for sure. But odd to spend a holiday in that environment, let me tell you. I missed home pretty bad to spend a holiday, would not be able to see my family or talk to anybody, but to be in this training environment. It was very surreal, but yeah, that's the day. That's the day all that went down, Thanksgiving Day. So now we get back to the training facility, and we have our duffel bag full of our government issue, and so we take all of our civilian gear, all of our personal things, and we have to put them in our suitcase, and that gets locked up in a closet. And now everything we own is issued. And this is the day that we learn how to set up our Foot Locker, and we had to fold our t-shirts in 4-inch squares, and how to set up your your locker and everything. So everything was, we had inspections for everything. And so there was only a certain amount of space between items, and they had to be in certain like places, and if they were off even by like the smallest margin, you would get tossed and have to do it over again. And these guys would come through with a ruler and check how big your t-shirt squares were. And all your uniforms are 2 finger spacings in between, and all your sleeves are folded in the same direction, and it was like really tight. They taught us how to make our bed with the dust cover so tight they say you can bounce a quarter off of. And that's a fact. We would make our bed so tight every morning that you could bounce a quarter off of it. And we were not allowed to sleep on top of our blankets like some people had tried, because every morning we had to make our bed hospital corners and really tight blankets. And every morning we got inspected for that. And some people were like, "Oh, I'm just gonna sleep on top of my blankets so that my bed is nice in the morning." And that wasn't gonna happen, because they would come through in the middle of the night and toss you. They pick your bed up and just toss you if you were sleeping on top of your on your covers. So yeah, but I liked my covers because it kept me safe, and I still have a lot of these habits to this day. Keep my closet organized, and and that's a good thing too, because that kind of organization is good for people, good for me. I don't have any regrets about that at all. No offense, Palacios. So I am row 1, bed 1. I am considered an element leader. That was my duty. That was my assignment. And everyone in that row, I was responsible for. So when it was time for inspection, I had to square us all away. Every single one. I had to go through every single locker, every single drawer, every single bed, and then the floor, and everything in my area was tip top. That was my responsibility. And if anything in my element was not, it was on me. It wasn't necessarily on the person, but it was on me. And I get punished. And that's just the way the military is. And it taught me accountability really young. But when we march in 4 rows, and each row is called an element. And since I was the element leader in the dorm, I was the element leader of that element when we were marching. But we marched from tallest to shortest, and from tallest to shortest, right to left. But I was not the tallest person in my element. I just got to be the first one there. That's just the way it is. It doesn't make whole lot of sense, but that's just the way it was. And like, I was fine with being an element leader, because come to find out, I have leadership qualities. And we did have a dorm chief that basically he commanded all 4 elements, and he would march us, and wherever we had to go, he had to call out the movements and stuff. And if we looked bad, it was on him. And let me tell you, we stunk something terrible. No offense, Palacios. You were the man, bro. So we get back. Everyone is already, it's like private time. Everyone had already showered and they're writing letters home and whatever. This is our 10-15 minutes to get showers for ourselves and get to bed as well with the rest of the guys. So I jumped in the shower, and then I'm still like in a towel when I get called to the office. So I run up and I'm in a towel, and I reported, and he told me to come in, and he asked me what happened. So I was getting worked up, and I couldn't. I was just losing military bearing. Like, I couldn't keep it professional. I asked him if I could speak freely, and he told me that he gave me permission. And so I'm just like, these guys would not work. They would not get to work. I tried to, get them in line, square them away. These guys don't listen to me. They don't have any respect for me. And this is when the instructor had told me, that's your job. Whatever you have to do to get your guys squared away, that's what you do. And since you failed to get your guys squared away, you got to be punished for it. And I was like, but they were the ones that got us in trouble, not me. You're the one responsible for all this. And since you couldn't get your guys squared away and you got your 341 pulled, I'm revoking your base liberty at Christmas time, which was coming up. And that was like a stake in the heart. On Christmas, everyone gets a free day, base liberty. They get to walk around without having a drill instructor yelling at them. We get free reign of the whole base. We can go shopping at the store, the BX, so we can eat at whatever restaurant is on base. So I think we had Burger King and Pizza Hut, and you could go to the bowling alley. You can see a movie. There was tons of things to do, and family was allowed to come spend the day with you on base lib for Christmas. And my kid's mom had come to see me, and I get my base liberty taken away because of these jokers. I was upset, but there's nothing I could do. Like, I just accepted my fate, and I walked back to my locker, and I punched the locker door in. Just punched it in. Just. And I really expected to be in a lot of trouble for that, but yeah, it got a lot of attention from everybody around me. But the drill instructor did not call me up to see what happened. I think he knew what happened. So on Christmas Day, I have to be left in the dorm to stand fire guard, which is basically just a BS duty to make sure that nothing catches fire while everyone is gone. I'm just a guard. I'm just a guard. I sat behind the door at a podium, and I just sat there for the whole day, bored out of my mind. I was just reading my military books, whatever they had given us to memorize our core values and just basic military history is the only thing that I had to keep me occupied, right? And while everyone was out having a regular day, I'm still in the training environment, and everyone else is getting to have a regular life. I was resentful. I really was upset. And at the end of the day, as people were starting to file back in, I was relieved of my duty to go run quickly and make a phone call. And so I had run to the phones downstairs, and I tried to call where my kid's mom was, and she wasn't there. And so I tried not to cry. That's not the place for this. And I quickly went back up and said, "What are you doing?" I said, I there was nobody to call. Like, it's late and I don't have anyone to call now. So I went back to my bed, and like 5 minutes later, he calls me back into his office. So I run up and I report, and he said, you need to go to the family support center now. I don't know what this is about, but he tells me where this place is, and I'm running like I'm at attention. Like, we're not allowed to walk freely. We're walking or marching, and we're using facing movements and stuff, and we stop at a curb, and we have to wait for traffic, and you see the boss's car with salute, and you have to have military bearing at all times. If you show a lack of military bearing, they can pull you 341, and then you look bad to your squadron. So I'm rushing down though, like I'm trying to be stiff with my movements, but I'm like walking double time, and sun is going down, and it's probably 2 blocks away. I get to the family support center, and my kid's mom's there with my baby, and I'm like, that's so cool. And I did cry because at least there's someone there that I can share that sentiment with without being chastised. And so I got 15 minutes with my family, and they came all the way from California for 15 minutes. Thanks a lot, you know what I mean? They didn't think about the effort that it took my people to get here, and I got it taken away over some jokers that wouldn't do their job. But I learned a valuable lesson with that, and it helped me along in my military career. And also, that lesson carried over into like my civilian life. Like, you can't push your problems off on other people. You can't just blame everybody. Like, I'm responsible for a lot, and that can mean a lot of different things. But the whole big picture, you got to see the whole big picture, and not a lot of people can see the whole big picture. But I got 15 minutes with my family. That was good enough. I had to rush back to the dorm, and when I got there, I reported, telling them I'm back, thanking them for allowing me to see my family. And then I went back to my bed, and my locker was repaired. Yeah, and everything was inspection ready. Like, they replaced the whole thing, and they put my locker together, and that was at the order of my training instructor. But everybody in my element like looked out for me, and they did that for me. So that was cool. Now, in the Air Force, we have a thing called Warrior Week. And Warrior Week is a week full of war games. This is my favorite part of basic military training. This is where we got our weapons qualifications. We got to learn and employ tactics, escape and evasion tactics, and attack. A brief education on capture, how to be if you're a captive. So yeah, we got beat up and interrogated and stuff and smacked around. It's kind of cool, but we'll get to it. I got to do a 9mm qualification and M16 qualification. which I became a small arms expert. I have shooting background, so that wasn't very difficult for me. I grew up in Arizona on a reservation. I was a Boy Scout, and I got my shooting badge like at 10. So I just grew up shooting cans and stuff in the desert. I learned how to shoot real young. In the military, I ended up a small arms expert, and that was cool. And because I'm an element leader and I'm a small arms expert, when we were doing our war games, I had to be a team leader, and my job was to set up a perimeter because we were going to be attacked by the cadres, by the training instructors that were teaching us these war games. They taught us how to build a base. They taught us how to defend it, and so they wanted to put that to the test. And yeah, we failed miserably. Of course they did. We had to fail miserably because that's how we're gonna learn, right? One by one, start picking us off, and it went late into the night, and we had some guys fell asleep at their post. These guys get locked up in a cage, and then the rest of us that didn't get killed we got put in a cage for interrogation. I was one of those people. I got kidnapped. It was scary, and it was cool at the same time, because I remember being sleep deprived. They would not let us sleep, and the people that were killed in action got to go to a tent where they could sleep, and the people that were like locked in jail, those guys got messed with pretty hard. But since I was about to be interrogated, I remember they would come through, bang our cage, splash us with water, poke us with a stick, and then they pull us one by one and take us inside to interrogate us, which consisted of us being tied with our arms behind our back on a chair while they're like yelling at us who we are, where we're from, what we're doing there, who do you work for, and all we're allowed to do is give our name, rank, and serial number, and that's all of the information that you're allowed to give. But if you give them any information, they'll reward you. So there was unfortunately a couple of guys who opened their mouth, and they got one of our guys got a hot cocoa or something, and because he ratted us out, and then they treated him real good. They let him go lay down and stuff, and then they pulled me in, and then they beat the crap out of me. And honesty, and to be fair, and it's part of the training, and I don't want to shine any negative light to it. It's like open hand slaps and pushing around. They weren't really. This was a training environment. These guys don't know me. They don't care about me. They don't have anything against me, but they have to make it as real as possible. So yeah, they were a little physical. I thought it was cool. So, say what you want, but it was all good. Taught me how to be a real G, man. I don't talk for nothing. So we get through Warrior Week, and we get our critiques, all the things that we could be doing better, and you take that into your military career. After Warrior Week, we did the Crucible, which is our obstacle course. This is the thing you see online or in the movies where rope swing and monkey bars, monkey bridge, over under, wall climb, rappelling. Just oof, the thing that we're all, you're at a certain point in your training when you get to that, and when you pass through the obstacle course. I remember this is the first time I got a compliment from my drill instructor, and that just was like indescribable feeling. I was filled with so much pride that I think that I can just take on the rest of the world. Like, I can do this. And that's what they do, They spend all these weeks just breaking you down, breaking you down, breaking you down until you feel like you're nothing. And then little by little, they build you back up. They build you back up with positive reinforcement, and you become stronger and stronger and stronger. And this is how they build a soldier. This is why there's no place for your civilian life and to enter into the military. Like, it may not be for you. You may think what you want about the military and how we do things, right? But it's imperative that it be this way. And this is why there's just no room for the sensitivities these days, like in our military, because what we are tasked with, the responsibility of keeping and maintaining our freedoms and liberties, calls for someone to give the ultimate, essentially. I'm trying to be careful of my words, and I don't want to be over dramatic, but it could cost you your life to sacrifice for the greater good. And someone who's overly sensitive or weak, they're not going to do the job that needs to get done. And honestly, the basic training system is designed to weed out these kind of people, or kill that part of you. Maybe you are or were like a weakling, and I use the term with respect, but like maybe that you were, right? Basic military training will make you a strong person. It will take that weakness and beat it right out of you, but replace it with strength. And I'm from a different time. I'm ashamed of the basic military training these days. Like, you young men and women, I don't know what's up with you guys. Weak. You're weak. You would have never made it in my day. So harden up. But anyway, sorry I went off on a tangent. It happens. And then we have inspection and parade, and then graduate. And when all the training squadrons are ready to go, we get marched in front of all of the brass and our families, and they parade us in front of everybody like we're ready, and we're all standing out there, thousands of young men and women that are just ready to go off into the world and defend our nation, do our duty to our country, and yeah, what a moment. I have been through a lot. That's just like one of the moments in my life that, God, crazy. Now, I have tons and tons of stories while I was in the military. Crazy, wild stories. You do not want to miss these stories. I'm not going to tell them all now because that would just be a waste. But you don't want to miss these stories from the military. You're not going to believe me. But I want to get into some stuff about my childhood before I jump into these crazy military stories, because I think a little bit of backstory will help you guys understand what the hell I was thinking when I did some of this stuff. So Just tune in. Keep me in mind. I'm trying to make more videos. I'm taking this seriously. Just stay with me, okay? I gotta say the thing now, right? Like, comment, subscribe. Please do. Please do all three of those things. I need you. I need your support. I definitely need you to like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know if you guys have any military experience. Let me know what you did. Where'd you do your service? What did you do? What was your job? What was your career field? And even if you didn't serve, let me know how the story, how you like the story. Let me know if you had any family that was in the military, and let me know all the messed up things that your military family put you through, because I bet I can understand. But I appreciate you hanging with me. I really do. And until I catch you in the next one, thanks for watching.